Welcome to another episode of the Magic Kings podcast with the great big beautiful dads. And this is Steve, travel agent with Just Add Magic Travel. Free trip planning to Disney World, Disney destinations, cruises, all-inclusives, etc. But I'm here with a great big beautiful guy. Hey Mike, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Glad
I'm
to be
good.
Back.
We're back.
We're back. Let's go.
This is going to be quite an episode, I think. This is one that we've been dancing around for a little while. We're going to be talking about lightning lanes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to shout out a couple of things first. Thank you to those who have left reviews. Did you know, Mike, we have reviews?
I you know what? I'm gonna have to go check them out now. I'm very interested to see what people are saying.
Yeah. So we had a couple of reviews on Apple. One from MR Spider 08. Loves listening to all the Disney tips and tricks. This person's a bit of an expert, so they consume information on this topic like it is going out of style.
Ooh.
And that we have a lightheartedness and heartfelt discussions, which I do think we're lighthearted.
I think so too, yeah. And shout out to Mr. Spider. Appreciate the nice words there.
That's right. And then we had one more review. I just want to shout out AMCM 0813. Easy listen. Can't wait to see where the pod goes from here. Us either, AMCM 0813. So thank you, everybody. So please, leave a 5-star review. Tell us what you think. I think it does help, get the podcast out there. So we appreciate those who have left a review. So
yeah, and I promised, fingers crossed, that wasn't just me going on there and writing podcast reviews.
I will, and I do think the first one was probably my cousin, but I will say I cannot figure out who the other one is. So I think it's whoever you are, get in touch with us.
Yes.
You can be a guest. Call right in.
Yeah.
Come on.
We're an open book here. We would love to have some additional guests. That would be great.
Are you kidding? That would be amazing. Absolutely.
And shout out to the guests that have been on so far. I know your sister did an episode, and then you had a member of the Real Dads of Boston. Both of those were awesome. I thought they were good. And also the other Steve.
Yes.
Very good content. I appreciated all their perspectives and opinions. They did a great job.
Yeah, obviously I knew my sister was into Disney because, we went to Disney a lot together. But yeah, once you start talking about Disney, we've said this many times, but like people come out of the woodwork. It's like
so
everybody
funny.
Loves Disney. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. So, Mike, we've talked about doing this episode because you have not experienced the recent updates to the Lightning Lane system.
Yes. And can I tell you something that's a little embarrassing? Well, it's embarrassing, but it's also kind of a little bit of a brag. We were annual pass holders when we lived in Florida. So, I never felt the need to rush to get on every ride while we were there because I knew we'd be back in a really short amount of time. So I was like, we don't need to pay for Genie Plus. We don't need to do Lightning Lane. I did do it for Tron and some of the other ones where you could do the Express Pass or whatever they called it at the time. So I have a little bit of experience with it, but honestly, I haven't really done it. And then you mentioned they rebooted the whole system, and there's some additional levels of Lightning Lane, and I'm so intrigued. I wanna learn all about it for my next visit because I plan to go back and fully take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, you bring up a good point. We talked about it in our Magic Kingdom episode, I recommend getting the Lightning Lanes for Magic Kingdom, blah, blah, blah. Every trip and every situation is different. And so everything we're going to say today is your situation may kind of call for doing this. Your situation may not. Or you just may not want to spend the money, not want to do X, Y, and Z. So none of this is mandatory. But it's just something that I know I hear so much from people who are interested in going to Disney and they're intimidated by it. And especially now, it changed less than a year ago. It was last summer that it changed to the current system, and it is a learning curve.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive in. Let's start off with an easy one, Mike. You know the answer to this.
Yes.
What is a Lightning Lane?
I do know the answer to this.
There you go.
I told you I have done it. So the best way to describe this is you skip the line, right? So, and now you can use, if you have a physical card, you could use that. But most of the time it's with your Magic Band. It's super easy. You just kind of go up, tap your wrist, and walk right on. The little thing will go ding, and you'll go through. So
it's the sweetest sound in the world. Yeah.
It's so I can't even replicate it. It's like You get, it's like when you open a fresh soda, it's like,
yeah.
that's the same sound, right? It's like ding, and you're
What's
good to go.
What's your favorite soda? Mine is Fresca. It's a hot take, but
Favorite soda. So we've been on like a super spindrift kick, which isn't really soda. It's kind of just like soda water with a little bit of juice. But I mean, if I had to like stack rank best sodas in the world, I like a classic Mexican Coke in a glass bottle. That's like number one ultimate. It's just classic.
I respect that a lot. That's a great pick.
If we're talking fast food, fountain sodas, everybody's gonna say the Coke at McDonald's, but I'm going with the Dr. Pepper at Wendy's. That's
I haven't noticed the difference with that one.
I don't know what something about it. It's like it's got it's a little spicy. It's got Dr. Pepper's a little spicy, anyways. Yeah, and I like that one.
The kids these days like Dr. Pepper. That's a trend I heard
Is
about.
It?
Yeah, they like the spice. I like Dr. Pepper. All right. Well, good. So, yes, Mike, you're right. It's something that you use to skip the line. Okay. Sounds simple enough. But that is what a lightning lane is. And what we're going to be talking about is the systems through which you can obtain these lightning lanes. Okay. So, there's actually right now 3 levels of lightning lane access. We're going to start with kind of the 2 easiest ones to explain, and then we're going to spend the bulk of the time on what's called lightning lane multipass. But we're going to start with the one that I've never done, and I don't know that I will do anytime soon, maybe someday, but I don't know if you heard about this, Mike. It's called Lightning Lane Premier Pass.
I saw the press release and I sent it to you and I was like, "What? This is what is happening? This is amazing."
Yeah. So the Lightning Lane Premier Pass is a pass where you can get into any ride in one of the parks that you purchase it for. You can get into a ride through the Lightning Lane, skipping the line, any time of the day. Okay. Pretty good. Okay, so yeah, you can just skip the line whenever you want. So it costs a pretty large premium. Okay, so I'm just looking for a few days from now, during the day, a weekday, Animal Kingdom to do this, to get through all the Lightning Lane experiences, $139 per person. Again, this is on top of your park ticket. Okay,
on top of the ticket, yeah.
Yes. Epcot, $189 per person. Okay, Hollywood Studios, $289 per person. Big jump there.
Yeah.
$289. Magic Kingdom, $359 per person. By the way, these are low. I'm just having to pick a day. We're in a little tiny bit of a lower season right now, especially in normal or even high seasons. That Magic Kingdom is well over $400 per person for Premier Pass. This is something that, hey, if you want to do it, if go for it. You will get through every single ride. You can go guarantee it. You'll blow through those rides quickly. So, but that's not something I think is in most people's, whether it's not in their budget, whether they just don't want to spend it. Like I said, I haven't done it and probably won't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to imagine, but I don't know. What do you think about that, Mike? Lightning Lane Premier Pass. Are you signing up for that?
You know what? If I win the lottery, I'll sign up for it. But I think I'll just kind of take my chances with one of the other options.
Yeah, I agree. So, but again, hey, if this is what you want, and the other thing we got to talk about someday, Mike, is the VIP tours. That's a whole other conversation. That's another level.
You know what? I'm too afraid to even look up what that costs. I've seen people doing it, and I'm like, that'd be so cool.
I know someone who got to go on one. And I'm trying so hard to get her to talk to us, and I don't know if she's. She told me it was unbelievable. But anyway,
that's awesome.
So Premier Pass is almost as good as a VIP.
Yeah.
So that's Premier Pass. I think the next easiest one to talk about is Lightning Lane Single Pass. Okay, this is paying per ride, and I think what's important to understand about this one is that it is only available for certain rides. In fact, it's available for 5 rides at Walt Disney World across the 4 parks. And I can name them. Tron Light Cycle Run, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and Magic Kingdom. It's going to be Rise of the Resistance in Hollywood Studios. It's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in Epcot. And it's Avatar Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom.
Basically the 5 most popular rides in the parks.
I would say the 5 most popular rides. Maybe Slinky Dog Dash could be in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's single pass, and that is they are. We're going to talk about multi-pass. They are not part of multi-pass. You can't get a multi-pass lightning lane for them. You have, in order to skip the line, you have to pay this single pass. The cheapest one tends to be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Again, choosing our random weekday here. The single pass for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is $11 per guest. The other one in Magic Kingdom, which is Tron Light Cycle Run, is $19 per guest. In Epcot, it's $16 per guest on that day for Cosmic Rewind. It's $20 per guest at Hollywood Studios for Rise of the Resistance. And it's $16 per guest at Animal Kingdom for Flight of Passage.
Which is a little bit of a premium, but if you think about it, like, maybe not everybody in your party is going to go on those rides, right? Like, the little kids aren't going to go on it. And, you know, maybe if you're with grandparents, they're not necessarily going to go on it. So if you really want to get on one of those rides and you don't want to hang around and wait in line, it's a good option.
It is, and you bring up a good point in what you're saying now, because I was just talking to somebody about this today, about their plans. You don't have to buy any of these for everyone in your party, and I think that's especially relevant for single pass. Somebody could say, well, I don't want to ride Cosmic Rewind, I'm going to barf, right, whatever, or I'm too scared to ride, Tron. You don't have to do it. And when I've gone, like, my wife doesn't really want to ride like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It's just, she doesn't do it for her. Great, me and my daughter will get it, and we save them, a few bucks there. I mean, for some people with the single pass, and I cannot argue with this. I would never say, oh, you got to do it. It just hurts to pay that amount of money for one ride.
Right.
The way I frame it for myself, because I am one that tends to buy the single passes, is that what you're buying is time.
Right.
And for those rides, like I think at Guardians of the Galaxy, man, it's going to be hard to get under like a 70, 80 minute wait at any point throughout the day.
Yes.
It just is to get an hour plus of your day back. I think it's worth it for me. And
I agree. Yeah. I think that's the right way to think about it. And I mean, I'll even just say for Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, right? Like when I went on that ride, they were still doing the virtual queue.
Yes.
And that was one where you got a designated time, and there was only so many time slots, and you still waited in line for an hour to get on that ride. It's an amazing ride. It was worth it. But if you're thinking about it in the single Lightning Lane context as it is now, you're buying yourself an hour, right? You're buying yourself an hour that you can spend on something else.
Exactly. And think about Epcot. You can spend an hour going through the countries. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like there's so much to just chill, with Epcot. That one I really think is so worth it. But again, I would never say, oh, you got to do it. I think it's a personal preference kind of thing with that. So that is single pass.
Okay. And that makes sense. I think you told me about single pass, and that makes sense.
So now we're getting to really what is the most confusing and the one that is the one to manage and what people are talking about with Lightning Lanes. And it's Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, okay? So one thing to actually understand about both single pass and multi-pass, we'll stick with multi-pass here for now, is the way these Lightning Lanes work is you book it on your phone. So you purchase this Lightning Lane multi-pass or single pass, you book it on your phone, and you get a return time. So it'll tell you an hour window where you can come back to that ride and skip the line, okay? I think of it as like supply and demand, okay? There's a certain number of these Lightning Lanes, basically. It's more complicated than this, but that are out there. The more popular rides, the faster that they'll sell out, okay? And also, the later that your return time is likely to be for the more popular rides. Some of the most popular Lightning Lane multi-pass rides, Tiana's Bayou Adventure will be one. Slinky Dog Dash is probably number one most popular. Even if you're up, getting that as soon as you can, you're probably getting a late return time, a 7 p.m. return time, right, for those kind of rides. And it's because, it's booked up so fast by everyone trying to get those right away. So that's just something to understand, that there's the return times, and the most popular rides will quote-unquote sell out, generally speaking, will sell out faster. And the return times will be later or they'll be gone. And to give you a sense, let's go back to our random day at Magic Kingdom. For this, it's $27 for that random day. Epcot is $19, Hollywood Studios $24, Animal Kingdom $19 to get multi-pass. So what multi-pass allows you to do is a couple of things. You can select before your vacation 3 rides that are eligible for multi-pass to pre-book. So there is a pre-booking process. So, Mike, you did Genie Plus. There was no pre-booking in Genie Plus.
Yeah.
The first one we booked was at 7 a.m., right?
Yep.
Yeah. So this pre-booking thing is a new thing. If you're on property, you do it 7 days before your vacation starts, before the first day of your package. And if you're off property, it's 3 days before the first day of your park tickets. Okay. And that's for your whole vacation. So you do 7 days before your first day for your whole vacation, or 3 days. When you do the pre-booking of this, it's all on the My Disney Experience app. So you go into your My Disney Experience app, and you can see the rides that are available for multi-pass. In 3 of the 4 parks, and this is where it gets complicated, but in every park but Animal Kingdom, there are 2 tiers of rides. This is also new since Genie Plus. This is a thing in Genie Plus.
Yep.
So the most popular few rides will be in that tier 1, and then everything else will be in tier 2. And the way it works is for your pre-booking, you can book 1 tier 1 and 2 tier 2s. So you can book 3 tier 2s, I guess, but you can only book 1 tier 1. So in Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy is not in multi-pass. That's a single pass, so that's out. So your tier 1 rides are Test Track, coming back July 22nd. Very excited. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, Frozen Ever After. Okay, you can choose one of those, and then everything else is a tier 2. So you can choose 2 of like Mission Space and Spaceship Earth, whatever. 2 other rides. And the thing to understand is that if you have multi-pass, you can always have 3 lightning lanes booked, which means once you scan in, you use a lightning lane, you can book another one right away. Okay.
Ooh.
That is the same as it was with Genie Plus, right?
Right.
Except with Genie Plus, you could have 1 at a time. Now you can have 3 at a time, right?
Okay.
So the nice thing, too, about multi-pass is that once you scan in to 1, you're at the park, you scan into your first one, the tiers go out the window.
Ooh, okay. So, yeah. A little game changer here. I like this.
Exactly.
It's got so many strategy questions now. Ooh,
yeah.
This is interesting. I like this. Okay.
So, yes, and I'm going to throw it to you. I am curious to know, what are some questions or things that you have so far?
So the first thing that came to mind, and I've seen this, I don't know if it's exactly the same with Lightning Lane Multipass, but with Genie Plus, you mentioned it was supply and demand. Like you could log in and pick a ride, and it tells you a 7 p.m. return time. Are you immediately discounting that, like trying other rides? Or are you booking that late time just to have it in your holster for later in the day? Like I don't know. Like what do you how do you approach that? Do you go for one early ride that's maybe not as crazy, and then try to like get your your A+ rides later just so you can have it? Like now I want to go try this out.
Let's dig in. Yeah. So with Genie Plus, as you're saying, you could have 1 at a time. If your return time that you got for whatever ride you wanted was 7 p.m., you would not take that.
Right.
Because you're just
all day. You can't even use it. You can't get another ride earlier before that, right? So having 3 is a big game changer in itself. Yes. And then it's like, ooh, now I got to think about, all right, how do I want to plan my day around these other rides, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. The strategy definitely changes now that you have 3. So Hollywood Studios, okay? Slinky Dog Dash, as I've said, is probably, it's that or Tiana's generally sells out first of any multi-pass ride, okay?
Right.
You will get to the park and Slinky Dog Dash will already be sold out that day. Like if you didn't get it as a pre-book, it's already gone.
And that's a good hour plus wait for a Slinky Dog, right? A great ride. So much fun.
Amazing.
But it's a long wait.
Long all day. One of the longest waits in all of Disney World. Sometimes it's the longest. And it's all outside. It's not the best queue.
Yeah.
So it's a very desirable lightning lane. If I really know I need to get a lightning lane for Slinky, like maybe I'm going in the summer, it's going to be hot, and I need to get on Slinky. If the only time I can get is the return time is like 8 to 9 p.m., I'm taking it because I can get 2 others that will be earlier return time.
Right.
And we touched on this in the Magic Kingdom episode. You need that turn and burn ride, like a burner lightning lane. What that means is you want to have a lightning lane in your back pocket that is the earliest it could possibly be. You want to get like that 9:10 to 10:10 return time. Even
it's your pawn in chess parlance, right?
Exactly.
You're willing to sacrifice it to get that early slot out of the way. I love that.
Yes.
That's so
exactly
smart.
Right. You can, like a classic one. Now Muppet Vision 3D is gone. That was like the classic one, because you could always get that one early. But another good one would be like the Frozen sing-along show.
Ooh, yeah, great show, by the way.
It is a great show, yeah, and that's one where you can scan into that, do that right away, and book your next one while you're enjoying that.
Yep.
What some people do, the true by the way, you don't need a lightning lane for that. You can get into any of those showings whenever you want without a lightning lane, pretty much. I mean, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but that's not one I would ever recommend. Like, oh, you need a lightning lane? No, the only reason you would get it is that it's I got this 9 o'clock return time, and I'm going to scan in as soon as I get to the park so that I can book my next one. But what some people do, and this is like the Disney demon method, is they scan in and don't even go to the show. They're not even planning to do it. They just scan in because it's on the way to whatever they want to do. Yeah.
They just wave the arm over the... Ooh,
yes,
okay,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it's diabolical.
Interesting. That is. Yeah. Some people they've thought this through.
Exactly.
But yes. I could see them becoming, Disney becoming wise to this and moving the scanner back a little bit so that you can't just like tap and go.
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
It seems like the Disney gods, right?
Right.
will frown on that. Like somehow you're breaking the rules, right?
Yeah,
but
you're messing with their attendance numbers.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe get one that you do think you're gonna do, just so you can do it, right? You don't necessarily want to waste your time.
And there's plenty of rides that are quick hits too, right? Like 5-minute ride, 10-minute ride that are worth it, and maybe not. Like you said, maybe not super popular, but they're rides that you'll have fun, the kids will have fun, and you can do it quick.
A good example would be Star Tours. That's one you can get early. And again, you don't need the lightning lane for that, but to scan into that right away, and get in and out of there, it's a good way to start. And you could be on your way to Galaxy's Edge, right?
Right.
That's actually a good pick. For that. So the strategy basically is you want your tier 1, and it'll vary by park what that tier 1 will be and by your situation. You may say, I don't really care about going, having Slinky and Hollywood Studios has so many other long wait rides. I'm going to put that one to the side. I'm going to get Rock and Roller Coaster or whatever as my tier 1. But you want your tier 1, whatever works for you. You want a tier 2 that you really my strategy is you want a tier 2 that you really will use. Like in Hollywood, we'll just stick with Hollywood Studios. Tower of Terror is a tier 2. That's a good one to get. Some people would say you want to get 2 that are early for tier 2, and you scan into both, boom, boom, and you can just that's not a bad strategy at all either. I'd say go for that. If it sort of depends. But that burner, that first one, that's the earliest possible return time, kind of whatever you can get. I would say that's a pretty good strategy for everybody to try to do that.
And then you might have a chance of getting maybe a tier 1 that's got maybe a later in the day time that you can also get in your quiver. I like that.
Exactly right. Yeah. And like at Hollywood, it's like, okay, I could get Mickey and Minnie. Mickey and Minnie's is a tier 1. Rock and Roller Coaster is a tier 1. Those are gettable, later, if you do that. So
both awesome rides.
Absolutely.
A question for you.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm getting ahead of you here.
Oh, please.
And you may have mentioned this with the single pass. Can you have 3 multi-passes and also buy a single pass for the day?
This is a great question. I should have said this with a single pass. Thanks for asking this. Yes, you can. So you can. They're totally separate systems.
Got it.
And the thing to note with single pass is you can only get 2 in one day.
Ooh, okay.
So this either comes up in Magic Kingdom if there's only 2, or if you're park hopping. Okay.
Right.
So usually 2 is going to be plenty for most people.
Yeah.
But, there could be situations, like if you're park hopping from Animal to Magic.
Yep.
You could want 3. But anyway, so that's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing to point out too is like you can still get on these rides by waiting in the line, right? Like it's
absolutely.
And you may time it just right where the line is 25 minutes, right? Like one of the things we talked about in the Magic Kingdom episode is if you're doing 2 days at Magic Kingdom and you don't care about burning through the fireworks, like you can get on any ride in 15 minutes, right? Because everybody's out on Main Street watching the fireworks and you can just be running around the back of the park going to the most popular rides. So don't feel the need to do this. I'm super intrigued because it's a new concept to me and it does give you a lot of things, especially if you're, maybe on a short schedule, you're only at the parks for 2-3 days and you really want to hit some certain rides, then it's worth it, right? But don't be afraid just because we're talking like this that you're not going to get on all these rides. Like you could still get on these rides without Lightning Lane.
That's it. No, exactly. That is totally right. It will all depend on what you want to get out of your trip and what kind of trip it is. And the other thing to think about, and I kind of referred to this with Slinky, sometimes you will not mind waiting in a queue for 45 minutes, an hour, because it's a cool queue. And sometimes you will. I think of like Jungle Cruise. I hate that queue. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Slinky, I don't. Great rides, and I'm always, if I don't do those, that's tough. I'm sad. But those are ones that I want to do a Lightning Lane because I don't want to wait in those lines. But Toy Story Mania, I'll wait in that line for an hour. I don't. That's an awesome line. There's so many.
The Pooh, great queue. Right? Like there's like little activities to do along the way.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so much to think about with like this strategy, and again, I think it's a value of. Not to promote myself, but it's working with a travel agent. It's going to be a lot, and I think just every situation will be different. So just have someone who kind of knows what they're talking about to go through it. It's going to be really helpful.
And you're never going to be able to perfectly game the system, but having a little bit of inside information, a little inside baseball from your travel agent Steve here at Just Add Magic Travel is really going to help you. Let's see, I love these plugs. I'm so good.
You nailed. Oh, he got the name of the company. That's amazing.
If you're working with your travel agent, Steve, you're going to get the inside baseball. You're going to know what the next chess move is.
No, that's it. Exactly. So we talked about the burner, the turn and burn to getting the one early in the morning. I want to talk about maybe a notch up from there. And this is one where unless I'm going to Disney with you, I will not be able to help you with. So I do want to talk about it on the podcast and everything. So
wait, you don't come with us when we book travel with you?
It's an extra fee. That part is not free. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll be happy to join you. we can talk about that. Yeah. So when you get these Lightning Lanes, you get your return time for 8 o'clock, whatever. For Slinky Dog, you're coming back at 8 p.m. Okay, it's not ideal. You can try to modify, and always you can modify your Lightning Lanes.
Ooh.
And this was actually the case eventually with Genie Plus. Not when it was rolled out, but eventually they added this where not only can you try to modify the time, but you can actually modify the ride. So let's say you're like, you know what? We're at a restaurant and we're going to miss our Toy Story Mania Lightning Lane. Just sticking in Hollywood. I don't know. I'm just saying now. Okay. Yeah. If you miss your window, you cannot book a Lightning Lane for that ride again that day. Ooh. And one thing that's important is actually, I should have said this in the very beginning, is that you can only book a Lightning Lane for each ride once per day.
Right. Okay.
In multi-pass. Yep. And then, missing your window counts as using one. So if you are going to miss it for whatever reason, you do want to try to either modify that one for later, or if it's out, or if not that, you can modify it to a different ride. Say, you know what? I'm just going to get Alien Swirling Saucers for an hour from now.
Yeah.
And that'll be my Lightning Lane, and I'll wait in line at Toy Story Mania. Whatever.
Nice.
So you can modify. It's very easy to do that. And you can look at what's available in modifying. Like you can click into it, and you won't lose your current Lightning Lane. So if you look at it and say, there's nothing coming up that really makes sense, I'm just going to keep what I have, and that's
it. Okay. Then, so pro tip, you can actually do that with your dining reservations too.
Yes.
And that's so when you were saying that, I'm like, oh, I've done that with my restaurant reservations, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know what the policies are with the new Lightning Lane, but I have seen that they're kind of lenient. Like if you're 5 minutes late, they might just scan you in, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't push it, right? I don't know if they put you on the villains list and lock you out. But yeah, the cast members are usually pretty good about that. And then also one other thing that I noticed with Genie Plus, and I'm sure they do this now with Lightning Lane, is if you're in queue and the ride goes down, or for whatever reason there's something where they have to shut the ride down, they'll actually scan your band as you're leaving and give
Yes.
you like a carte blanche to come back anytime throughout the day. So
Yes.
this actually happened to me on Tron.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had a, and this was actually virtual queue time,
Mm-hmm.
and for whatever reason it was down, and they basically were like scanning everybody's bands and just saying come back anytime.
Yeah.
So like I was just kind of keeping an eye on the normal wait, and when it didn't seem too crazy, I went over there and got right on, and it was awesome.
And that's a really good thing to talk about generally. And funny enough, this has never happened to me. It's quite a common thing, but it's in all my career at Disney World, it's never actually happened to me, which is exactly what you're saying. So if a ride goes down and you had a lightning lane for it, you will get what's called an experience credit. I think that's what it's called, experience credit.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can come back to that ride or a list of all these other rides anytime. It's kind of like a bonus lightning lane that you just get. And so that is another like diabolical strategy where if you see lightning lanes available for a ride, return time is like for now and the ride is down, you should book it because then you'll get an experience credit.
you gotta walk over there though and get scanned though, right? Or they just automatically give it to you.
It's automatically given if you do it through multipass. Yeah, your virtual queue thing was a little bit different.
Yeah. That was
similar.
early on in the early, the stages of Tron when they were just kind of working the kinks out.
Yes, exactly. But there was actually a similar deal under Genie Plus where they would give you like I think it was called the same thing, whatever. But yeah, you could come back to certain rides, that ride or certain other rides anytime. It was just a bonus. So
yeah,
it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Nice.
So yeah, with modifying, now you may be saying, okay, this modifying is nice, but how does that affect my Slinky Dog 8 p.m. return time? This is our mastermind level of Lightning Lane.
Yeah, 4D chess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you will see weird things in the Lightning. So as I explained in the beginning, the most popular rides will sell out the most quickly, and the return times will be later. Okay.
Yep.
And like you'll see, if a ride has a long wait, or if it has 60-minute wait right now, your return time is going to be in like 5 hours or whatever.
Yep.
It's like it kind of works like that.
Yeah.
But you will see in the app, like if you just kind of look at what's going on, Space Mountain is a 50-minute wait, but the return time for the Lightning Lane is now. Like, why does that happen? And there's really no, I don't know there's no reason. I mean, there is, I'm sure, a reason, but I don't know what it is. But it's just to say that you shouldn't necessarily give up. And what you can do, if you have your return times for your Lightning Lanes, you have them all set up, you can just kind of go into that app. Like, let's say you're waiting for a show, okay? You're sitting in Frozen, and the show hasn't started. You can just kind of be like moving your thumb down, refreshing your,
tinker
the
with
ride.
it a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe that Slinky one will creep back to 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And
you know what? It's so funny that you said this, and I'll call back to my experience with restaurant reservations. Yeah. I have done that where a restaurant that was completely booked, like even 60 days out when I was trying to book reservations.
Yep.
I've seen that where like you can modify and get a restaurant reservation to a place that's been booked for 2 months, right?
Yes.
Like this is actually how we got a breakfast reservation at Topolino's at Riviera. It was just by chance I was in there and I was modifying our breakfast reservation, and I was like, "Oh, we gotta go! It's character. It's at the Riviera, right around the corner from where we're staying." And it worked out so well. It must be something with the algorithms or the reservation system where it just picks up when there's not, as many people as maybe they expected, and then they'll flash that time, and you really just kind of got to get lucky, right?
That's right. No, that you're exactly right. And I think with dining and probably with Lightning Lanes, it's like when the time comes for some people, they'll cancel, right? Something happens, and you get cancellations right there.
That's right.
I think that is what's happening a lot with the Lightning Lanes. I think too sometimes. I mean, this is pure speculation. We're just gabbing here. We're just talking, But like, if there's tons of people in one part of the park, they might try to entice people. I'll often see that where it's like the Galaxy's Edge is slammed, okay,
Yep.
but then the return times for Rock and Roller Coaster or Tower of Terror are going to be like super nice, compared to the wait. And I think that can be a reason, but again, I have no idea. It's just my guess.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I'll
Could
tell you
be.
why I think you're right. I actually have some inside knowledge from a
Oh,
former Disney employee,
are you kidding?
and I won't name names, but this former Disney employee was working in sort of like the analytics department, and basically that's what they did. But it was like they
Oh,
tracked gates for the different parks, so like how many people were going into certain parks and ride gates, so that they could see basically where the majority of people were throughout the park. And they didn't explicitly say that there was some manipulation in how those
huh.
ride times work, but they
Oh,
kind of alluded to it. So I kind of put the dots together, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they're doing exactly that. They're engineering the crowd
oh
basically
my
to
God.
bring people to different parts of the park. And the fact that they've gotten to that level of analytics is just impressive. Like
Oh yeah,
I'm a data nerd, so like
yeah,
the fact that they're thinking about it on that level and they're really looking at basically tracking where human beings are throughout the park, and
yeah.
then they're kind of engineering where people go is so interesting and kind of crazy to think about.
Agreed. First of all, I say it sounds like a podcast guest that I mean,
Maybe.
yes. So all that to say, you never know what you're going to see with the lightning lanes. You never know that, oh, this is definitely closed off because it got sold out. You can
Yeah.
see a ride just like with dining reservations, like you were saying. You can see a ride that was sold out that all of a sudden it has a time. Oh, and I can grab it. So if you sit there and you drag your thumb down and do it for 5 minutes, again, sitting and doing it for 5 minutes, don't do that when you're with your family. If you have
Yeah.
downtime, if you
Right.
are just waiting for a show or whatever, it's not the worst thing in the world to do that if you want to modify those lightning lanes. It is possible. And the other thing I'll say about that is that so you can pre-book, and I've seen this and I've done this, and again, I don't know if this is like a rule, or if this is even said by Disney, but on the morning of the day you're going to the park, if you try to modify on that morning, you have a good luck. I mean, you will probably push back, times or modify to better deals. I think it just opens up a little more the day up. I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
for sure, but it's happened to me enough, and I've heard about it enough where I'm just like, there is something to that. I don't know if it's an official thing, but it's something
Yeah.
to, if you're up early, whatever, on your way to the park, or
Yeah.
as you wake up, whatever, you can do
Yeah.
that.
If
So
you're
yeah,
you're on the bus over or on the
right.
Skyliner or something, pop it open and take a look. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And again, as Mike said, and as we've said, none of this is mandatory. If this sounds like the worst thing in the world to you to sit there on the stupid, lightning lane,
Yeah.
just don't do it. Just opt
Yeah.
out. You do not have to do this.
And you'll have an amazing day, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's not going to ruin your trip. It's not the end of the world. Don't get frustrated over this. But if you want to really get strategic, this is a good way to do it.
Absolutely. So yeah, you worked with me. You're staying on property 7 days beforehand. This is all in the My Disney Experience app. If you're getting lightning lanes, make sure your credit card or Apple Pay or whatever is like ready to go in My Disney Experience app, because you don't want to be spending precious minutes putting in your credit card information. So just do that ahead of time. And then also ahead of time, make sure that your park tickets and your hotel reservations are linked to you in the app, which is easy enough, except sometimes it's a little confusing. Again, that's something that, like, if you work with me, I will very much help you with and make sure that that's done. But
Yep.
those two things just need to be, because they need to see that you're staying on property, so you can do it 7 days ahead. And then, have a plan for what you want your tier 1s, tier 2s for each day to be. If you work with me, we will hash that out. I will spend as much time as I need to with you, as much time as you want, talking through this and everything. And then you book it 7 days ahead. You try to modify if you want, and you're ready to go. So I'm going to pause
That's
there and
awesome.
see if you have questions. There's one more thing I want to hit that tons of people ask me about. That's, again, a little more complicated, but I'm going to stop there for a second, see if there's anything else, Mike, that you wanted to curious about.
I'll just add, like, this sounds really intriguing the way that they've set this up, and I love the 3 at once aspect to this, which is definitely an upgrade from Genie Plus. Hit me with your last point, and then I'm going to throw a little goofball at you.
I
if you
love
will.
it. I love it. Okay. So the other thing with multi-pass and with single pass and with any of these is park hopping. People are really curious about park hopping. So here's how it works. With the pre-booking, you purchase multipass for one of the parks, and all 3 of your pre-booked selections must be at that park. So that's simple enough.
Okay.
If you're planning to park hop, the way it works is that as soon as you scan into your first one, if you have a park hopper ticket, you scan into your first Lightning Lane, you can then book any Lightning Lane multipass ride throughout Disney World at any of the other parks. So you got it for Animal Kingdom, you scan into Navi River Journey, that's your first one. You can book Peter Pan's flight, right then.
Yeah. Okay.
The other thing you can do is once you scan into your first one, you can modify the other 2 that you have to any other place at Disney World.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So obviously the tough part of that is that you would have given up all your pre-booking, anything that you got pre-booked,
right.
That's gone. But it's just more to say, like, you can do that. You can modify and you're open. With multi-pass and with single pass, you can, from the start, from pre-booking, you can buy a single pass for a different park than your multi-pass is in. So you can buy multi-pass for Hollywood Studios, and you can get a single pass for Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom. So you can do that right from the start. So that's nice. Another thing with park hopping, just to note. So that was my last point. I just get that part is really confusing to people. It is confusing, so just wanted to kind of throw that one out there.
Yeah, that's really great. I didn't even think to ask that, but I'm glad you brought it up. All right. Here's my goofball for you, ready. Steve. And I have not pre-thought about my answers, so we're going to do some noodling on the fly here.
I love it.
Pick 1 or 2 rides from each park that you really want to go on, but have typically a long line if you're not doing Lightning Lane. So what would be your top 2, let's call it top 2 rides per park that you really try to get with a Lightning Lane, because typically they have a long line.
Yeah. And if we're talking so let's leave single pass aside.
Yep.
For multi-pass, let's go in reverse chronological of when they open. So Animal Kingdom, number 1, Navi River Journey. I need to get the Lightning Lane for that. The other one I would say for a multi-pass is Kilimanjaro Safari. That's one that if you go early in the morning, it's the first one you go, it can be a low line. But again, it's an outdoor queue, and it can be a bit of a line throughout the day after the morning. So those would be 2.
That's a great one, and I'll add with the safari is like the earlier you go, the more active the animals are.
Yes, I've heard that. So
that is that's a good one. I like that.
So that's Animal Kingdom. For Hollywood is to me the toughest park. You might think Magic Kingdom, I think it's Hollywood because there's 9 rides and 7 of them have long waits throughout the day. Yeah. If you really think about it, everyone but Star Tours and Alien Swirling Saucers will have a long wait throughout the day. I mentioned Slinky Dog Dash. It's the toughest one to get for a good reason. The queue is terrible, and it's an awesome, amazing ride that is kind of fun for the whole family. So that's one that is just hard to avoid getting that multi-pass for. If I had to choose another one that I'm like, I need the multi-pass for this, boy, I'm going to say Rock and Roller Coaster.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. I could have picked basically any other ride at Hollywood. The reason I picked Rock and Roller Coaster, though, is that there's a single rider line. And what you might think, just do the single rider. The single rider is supposed to go faster. For some reason, that's the one single rider line at Disney World that doesn't go any faster. I don't know why, but it has that reputation, and I've experienced it where it doesn't go faster. So so that's one where there's like no way around it, and if you want to get on that ride, the multi-pass is good. I mean, Epcot, there's basically 4 that have long waits throughout the day, and it depends on which side of the park you're coming in on. So if you're coming in the front, you got to get Remy's for sure, because you won't be able to get there before there's a long line. And if you're coming in the back, it kind of depends. I would say Frozen Ever After is a good bet. Test Track when it reopens, though, is probably going to be the right answer there. Once it reopens, it's going to probably be more popular than ever. So I might go with that one. But
Test Track's great. That's good. Yeah.
Magic Kingdom, it's like a take your pick, but I would say Tiana's Bayou Adventure is again one of the hardest to get, one of the ones that sells out fastest. But it's hard to argue that's one. Although, you know what? I'm gonna take that back, because if you get over there in the morning, it can be a short line.
Yeah.
Because the early entry people aren't there, because that part's not open for early entry. The left side of the park, like Frontierland, Adventureland, and Liberty Square. So I'm going to take that one back, actually, 'cause that's a hard one to get. I'm going to say Peter Pan's Flight.
Yeah.
And that queue is cool, but it's just one that is long throughout the day.
Yes.
The other one, I mentioned it before, is Jungle Cruise. Don't like the queue. It's a tough wait throughout the day. And that's one that, even though it is on that left side, just like Tiana's, it's right where most of the people come through at rope drop. And so it kind of fills up in the beginning on most days pretty quick. So those are the two I'll go with, Peter Pan and Jungle Cruise. What do you think of that?
I like those picks. I mean, I think I would do those almost the same picks for Magic Kingdom. I would definitely do Peter Pan.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head with Peter Pan. I might say Space Mountain.
Yeah, that's a good
pick. Is
pick.
One where you can get stuck in a long line at Space Mountain, and that's one where if you can go quick and knock it out, it's a fun one.
And you know what I'll say about Space Mountain too? This is going to be so petty, but most of the time with the Lightning Lane, like you're in a separate lane, and you kind of don't see until you get to the end. You're not like next to the people in the regular line. But in Space Mountain, you are just passing millions of people on your way to the Lightning Lane, and you feel like you're a celebrity. I mean, it's amazing. It's a good feeling. So yeah.
You're just like a little Schadenfreude there. You're just
exactly.
Good point.
So anyway,
All right, so Magic Kingdom, I think I'm going Peter Pan and Space Mountain. I think for Animal Kingdom, you nailed it with the Safari. Kilimanjaro Safari ride. I think I would also do for Animal Kingdom. I want to say, so if you don't mind getting completely soaked, the Kali River Rapids ride is awesome.
It's a fun ride,
But like maybe that's a waste of a pick because the line's never really like too crazy. Because I think having a ride where you get soaked like turns a lot of people off. Yeah, but that's a great ride.
I think your other picks in Animal Kingdom, Everest could be one. A couple of things with that is that it ebbs and flows throughout the day, so you can get a shorter time. And there is a single rider if you're not there with small kids, you can do that. But Everest could be one. The other one, it's the one show that sometimes, I don't know about the one, but it's one of the very few shows where Lightning Lane can sometimes be nice. Is Festival of the Lion Kings. It's a super popular show.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you'll actually miss it if you don't get in line early enough. So that's not a terrible Lightning Lane.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so Hollywood Studios, I'm going. Slinky Dog. You gotta. It's such a great ride, but long wait. I would actually also, if you're not there for early entry, I would say Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. That one is like really cool and fun.
Yeah.
And then what am I missing? Epcot. I think you nailed it with Epcot. I mean, if you're coming in the front entrance, Remy's is going to be an hour wait by the time you get around the corner.
Yeah.
Frozen's a good one. I think I would maybe go Soaring. I think is probably where I would drop. The Lightning Lane just to kind of, that one's a long line where it's like a kind of boring because you're just in a big hallway.
Terrible queue. Yep.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like some of the queues are really good, and then you get into the Soaring queue, and it's just like you're in an underground hallway for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's nothing. No, it's true. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, Soaring's definitely a good one too. Yeah, and I mean the thing is, like the two of us know these parks pretty well.
Yeah,
but you kind of have to really get that strategy down.
Yes.
And this is like all Greek to a lot of people. They're like, what are these guys even talking about? Like, don't you just go? But it's really, if you spent the money on the Lightning Lanes, I'm sure you want to maximize it. So it is worth kind of having that like strategy session, right? To say, okay, what do we plan to do? Yeah.
And you'll get that inside baseball with Steve when he's booking your travel.
This is like the highlight of my week right here. It's just like talking about the Lightning. I'm like, I could talk about this all day. It's like, it's my favorite thing.
Well, I was like, I kept bugging you about this episode.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I don't know how the Lightning Lane works. Like, I need you to tell me. Like, explain it to me. Like, I want to know. Now I'm gonna have like dreams about how to strategize my Lightning Lane.
Oh, I know.
I'll be texting you tomorrow morning. And, oh, I thought of another thing.
Like, have you ever thought about this? And then you go around there. Yeah, no.
What about this?
I'll take it. No, text me anytime. This is my favorite topic. And we got into it pretty good here, but there's honestly more. It's a rich topic, really.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but it really is.
And there's literally probably infinite ways to like do all these like so many rides and shows and experiences, and you could do this 100 times and never do it the same way.
Yeah.
And the way it shakes out with so many different factors, from what's the weather to what time of year are you going, like all this stuff plays into it, and you kind of really have to know the ins and outs of the parks to get a good understanding. So if you're like us and it's like, ooh, I'm gonna really think about this, you're gonna have fun because you're strategizing. But like if you're not like us and you're just showing up at the parks and you want to just have a good day, you're gonna have a great day. Like
that's right.
You don't need to do this to have a great day, but like you said, it's gonna make your time go a little bit easier throughout the day, throughout the parks, and less waiting and more fun with your family.
Totally. No, I think about my sister who loves Disney and knows it, very well. Maybe not quite to like our level, but knows the parks really well. And I remember when she was there, and what she appreciated was like, I have these 3 things that I know are part of my day, and I can frame my day around them, and it's just nice to have them and to know I'm not going to be waiting in a long line at those times. And if it was me, I'd be like, we got to modify this, you got to do this and that, and she's like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, you know what? You really don't. You really don't have to do that, and you can just sit back and enjoy the day. That's a
great way. That's a great way to think about it.
These things are there. So, and if that's how you want to approach it, that's a beautiful way to approach it. You're not getting any argument from me. Yeah.
And so, like, I'm bringing it back to food again. Like, that's always how I plan my food reservations. I always think about it as like, oh, well, I want to do these rides in the afternoon, so I'm going to book my lunch here so then we can jump right out and go to these rides. Or we're going to do dinner over, in Japan, so like let's spend the morning down on the other side of the park in Epcot. So there's different ways to approach it where you can anchor your day on food, you can anchor your day on Lightning Lane rides, like you can do whatever, or you could just wing it and still have a great day, right?
You can. You absolutely can. Yes. If you don't mind waiting in lines, you want to go there and wing it and you have a ball, you'll have a ball. None of this is mandatory. It's really like if this is what's keeping you from taking your kids to Disney World, you know what I mean? Like the intimidation about this, then just go. Just go. Don't let this stop you.
Give this episode 5 stars. Yes. Just fast forward to the end and give us the views, but just go and have fun.
Exactly. No, it is still an option to just go and have fun at Disney World, I swear. But it's just weirdos like us who are, this is all I sit around and think about. Yeah. So I hope you're ready, Mike, to tackle the parks now, to tackle the
now I'm like, all right, I got to plan my trip. Here we go.
And I feel like I've put in the 10,000 hours of thinking about this. So if you got ideas, let me know, and I'll be a sounding board there.
So when you book my next trip, we're gonna have to set aside like a whole weekend, and we're just gonna have to get it's gonna be like the Vatican when they're choosing a new pope. We're just gonna get locked in a room and we're gonna figure out the trip.
It's like when we decide on the Tier 1 Lightning Lane, the white smoke comes up. They're like, oh my god. And then someone makes an announcement. It's like Slinky Dog Dash, and everyone cheers. Oh, amazing. Yeah, I can't wait. Well, no, we teased this like in the very beginning that we got to do an episode where we talk about, planning your trip, your family's trip. I mean,
it might be a whole series. It might be a whole new podcast.
Might be a whole other podcast, yeah. Is there a Guinness Book of World Records of like longest Disney trip planning session? Yeah. Like we'll break that, no problem. So that's it. That's all I got on Lightning Lanes. You got any more goofballs for me, or what?
No, I think we hit it. I'm fired up.
Me too. Yeah, I want to plan something. So get in touch with me so I can help you. Plan. As you can tell, I get all excited about this. So I'm very, very happy to help anybody. So yeah. If you're ready to do this, if you're ready to jump in, my services are free. Steve at justaddmagictravel.com. And we'll get it rocking with Lightning Lanes, dining reservations, hotel, resort, everything to do with your trip. That's it. That's all I got, Mike. You got anything to take us out here?
Yeah. Rock and roll or a coaster.
Wow, unbelievable.